Hey guys, Jessie here from Tonkadale and welcome to Cribs Houseplant Edition. Alright, so I have assembled most of my houseplants here in the kitchen. It's watering day. I like to water them in their grower pots at the sink, but first we need coffee. I'll tell you about my coffee routine. I love it. I gotta have my Jessie mug. This is my creamer. It's just the macadamia milk. So good. A little bit of that. Boop. Screw it on. And then my husband, we just do the caribou blend. And we go through about 2 pots a day. So that's how we make it. So I like my setup here because I have 2 sinks, which is nice. And then I have my compost here where I can clean any yucky leaves or whatever. I just put it in my compost bin. It's really easy. We do have like regular softened city water. Then we have a reverse osmosis system as well. So sometimes plants like the dracaenas or things with like a long, skinny, spiky leaf, they'll get kind of like a chlorine toxicity at the tips of the leaves. So if you do have plants like that are really sensitive to some of the elements that are in our city water or softened water, you might consider using like an RO or distilled water. But know that if you're doing that, there are no nutrients really in the water, so you're gonna wanna add back fertilizer. In this time of year, I'd say add it back at half strength. What we wanna cover this week is how much do I water my plant? Now, that question kind of means 2 different things, like how much as in volume and how much as in how often. A lot of that is gonna depend on what the environment of your home is like. I have a lower light home, so I'm gonna be watering less often than if you have a very bright light environment. I don't do it on a schedule. I kind of do it as time allows, so a little more reactionary than maybe some of you would like to be, but you know, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can keep a journal, you can make a spreadsheet, you can use your calendar app to set reminders and stuff. I have a lot of experience with plants, so I can do a lot of my watering and plant care by feel, just because it's so ingrained in me. This is the chocolate egg Glenema. It's actually up in my bedroom, which is a really low light situation, so we're not seeing as much expression of that dark chocolate foliage, but it's still really quite handsome. And it's normal as you water and are inspecting your plants to see a few yellow leaves, and I usually, watering is just a great time to collect those leaves and get rid of them. This one again is probably on a 2 to 3 week schedule. It's in a larger container, so when you have plants are in larger containers, they're not going to need water as often because that soil volume can hold more water. You can see the color of the soil is kind of dark. It means there is still some moisture in there, but I think that you can also see like the top layer of soil has dried down. We're not wilting yet, so I would say it'd be okay to water this plant today, but it could also likely tolerate a couple more days of drying out. So I'm going to return it to the pot. All right, so let's water. I just kind of go in. You don't want to flood out any soil, so I did that for a count of 10. Nothing's quite coming out the bottom yet. Let's do a couple more seconds. And she's feeling nice and heavy, so I think we're there. The how much to water, I think you can kind of feel the weight. So I did about a 12-second count. Okay, so I'm gonna do 12-second count. We'll see how much water that was. It was probably about 3 cups. That makes sense, I would say, for the size of the container. Here we have my variegated whalefin. It is so gorgeous. Look at that on the back. It's like almost pinky. What? That's the fun thing too about watering your plants, is just getting to look at them. So, well, you still can see a little bit of moisture there, but it is pretty much dry. The thing with plants that dry all the way through is the first time you water, the water's going to drain out quite quickly. The soil needs to be moistened a bit before the water really sticks to the particles. So this one I like to do like a double watering. So here we go. So see how that comes through so fast? It's because the soil is so dry, it's not sticking. So let's go again. Again, we're draining pretty fast. Also, this is in a well-drained soil media that's gonna drain quite quickly. Let's talk about my Zenzi ZZ. So the Zenzi ZZ is like a dwarf variety of ZZ, but this thing has grown so much. So I got it when it was probably this tall, and it's like doubled in size. All this new green foliage will eventually turn dark. And as you can see, we do have some hard water stains on the foliage. You can wipe those with a damp rag or use the leaf shine like we've talked about before. And here I'm breaking the rules because what I did, I was in a hurry and I have this beautiful pot by Sandwich Ceramic. It does not have a drain hole. The thing it does have though is like a ceramic finish at the bottom that does wick water, but I can kind of get away with this because I'm going to be watering the ZZ plant very infrequently, about once a month. And then because we do have some wicking action here, if I'm letting it dry and drain, here at the sink, there is some time for some of that excess water to escape from the container. It's good, and I can feel the bottom of the container. It's getting some moisture in there. Here I have Tenanthe, and moving into the fall and winter months, I'm a little bit nervous because plants in the Maranta family, especially Calathea, true Calathea, can be quite finicky, and you'll see this kind of action happening a lot. So now might be the time to invest in a small humidifier to keep near these plants. These are going to need a lot more water, and as you can see, I have let this one dry out. Holy moly. All right, so we're going to give this a good soak, and then I'm going to come back to it in about a week and make sure, see if it wants anything else. So again, because it is so dry, water comes out right away. So we're gonna let that drain and then we'll come back to it. All right guys, so talking about how often to water, it would be so nice if we could just water everybody on the same day with the same amount of water each time, but that's just not reality, just because humidity changes, light changes, and it's just not, it's not quite possible. So as you're watering, I'm sticking my finger in the soil. You know, this bromeliad, it still feels kind of moist, and bromeliads do tolerate drying out quite a bit. The soil is nice and spongy. I'm gonna skip it this time. All right, back to the Tenanthe. Now we have added some weight, but we had to like pre-moisten the soil so that the water will actually stick. So here we go again. I'm gonna do a 7 count. I think with her too, maybe I'll wash the leaves just to add some extra humidity. I don't know, that's kind of a good idea. Oh, splish splash. Look at how happy. I feel like she's dancing. Lastly, we have to talk about my signature watering vessel, the wine bottle. So I like to use the wine bottle to water plants that are about 10 inches in diameter and larger. My general rule for plants that are 10 inches in diameter is you need about 1 liter of water each time you water. Now, how often you water is going to depend on the type of plant. So I'm going to show you 2 examples in my living room. So this is my Dieffenbachia Golden Madonna, and she is very happy by this eastern facing window. I do have a yellow leaf, no problem, and she's dry. I mean, I can stick my whole finger in there and the soil is quite dry. So it's definitely time to water. This one probably gets water every 2 weeks. Also, my house is a lower light house, so we do get this eastern facing morning sun, but then it's kind of dark the rest of the day. So I like to take my wine bottle and just go in there, give it a good drink. I might come back with another half, just knowing how dry this one is, but I think that should suffice. We can lift it and see if we have water draining out the bottom. I do have a plastic saucer inside of this pot to catch any excess water. The one thing you want to remember with these larger plants, if you're not taking them in and out of the containers very frequently, is if you do have water draining into the saucer, you never want to let this plant sit in a pool of standing water, because that is like immediate death to plants. So checking it from time to time, dumping that saucer, or just wiping it clean is a good idea. This is my giant euphorbia cactus. When I do decide to water this cactus, what I usually do is 1 wine bottle of water and then a roadie. So when I say roadie, I'm gonna just put the wine bottle in my plant nanny. These are sort of hard to come by. We are on the lookout, but the plant nanny is really nice, just like a terracotta spike. And when you put the wine bottle, invert the wine bottle in there, it just kind of like lets the water flow in as needed. So I always water my cactus last when it's time to water. And this is the grand finale. Well, thanks for watching. Watering your plants is definitely a learning process, learning as you go, some trial and error, but hopefully you learned a few helpful tips about how I approach watering, and I've been pretty successful with plants. I do know my limits on what I can and can't grow in my environment based on light and the time that I have to take care of my plants. As always, send us your plant watering questions, and we'll see you at Tonkadale.